Rev up your engines!
Strength says, Scotty, first, thanks for all you do. I have an 07 F-150 V6. It has a rear main seal leak, but it leaks slowly and drives fine. Is it worth the fix? I've been using for years AT205 reseal, like Albert Thomas, the number 205, and then the word reseal. Company Chicago called ATP products. Yeah, automatic transmission products. You can put that sealer, if it's your engine seal that's leaking, you can put it in the engine oil. If it's a transmission seal, you can put it in a transmission. The stuff is amazing. I have seen it stopping leaks on rear main seals for decades. It's amazing stuff. And it's just a polymer. It mixes with the oil that you have, so it doesn't hurt anything. There's no solid pieces that'll clog stuff up. Give it a try. I've seen it work miracles, because in order to fix it, if it's the rear main seal of your engine, the easiest way is to pull the whole transmission off and then replace the rear main seal of the engine, put the transmission back on, which is an expensive job, because you can also do it by pulling the engine, but it's a lot more expensive to pull the engine off than it is to get the transmission off to replace the seal. But try the AT205 reseal. It stuff's amazing. I've seen it stop those leaks. And then if it was your engine oil that's leaking, every time you change the oil, just add a bottle in there. It'll keep it from leaking. Pablo Rosado said, Scotty, I followed your advice. Instead of replacing my 05 Corolla, paying more than $600 a month for another car, I kept it in 2021. Now it has 298,807 miles. And my debts are only $326 for repairs. Yeah, you know, it's amazing how well those things were made in 2005. Now, Toyota's quality seems to be going down a little bit lately, but I would say probably 2005, 2006 was the height of Corolla-dom, that they seem to last forever. I've got a 2007 Matrix, which is basically a Toyota Corolla with a different body style made in Cambridge, Ontario. And it's got 112,000 miles on it. It still runs like a clock. Doesn't run any different than it did when it was new, so yeah, they can last an awful long time. The Art of Today says, Scotty, my 2000 Toyota burned oil. Now it died. Is it worth to rebuild the engine? All right. Here's the thing. In 2000, Toyota made great cars. The problem with an engine is hardly anybody knows how to correctly rebuild engines anymore. Hardly anyone. And so you might pay to get your engine rebuilt and they'll do a crappy job. Then what do? If you can find a place that has good reputation for selling already remanufactured engines, you get one of those and then you give them your old engine as a core. That's better than having somebody trying to rebuild yours, because the true rebuilders that really remanufacture them, they might get 10 engines as cores and they might make 5 engines out of those. Some of the parts are good and they can use them over. Some of them they still got to buy piston rings and stuff. But if you got one engine that's all worn out and needs all the new parts, it would cost so much money to rebuild it, no one would want to pay that. That's why the rebuilders can get away with it. They get a bunch of engines and they'll make less out of all those engines by reusing the good parts, throwing the bad parts away, and then only buying the parts they have to buy. Damien says, Scotty, what's your thoughts on a Cadillac 4.6 Northstar V8? I heard they had head gasket problems. Yeah, they had head gasket problems. They were a very complex, fast engine. It's a racing design, and when they ran like scalded apes. But they had problems with blowing the head gasket, and it's not like you got a 4-cylinder Toyota engine and a guy like me could do a head gasket in probably 3-4 hours. Those things, you're talking multi-$1,000 repair to do a head gasket on one of those. I don't advise buying one of those things, especially used one with high mileage. You're gambling with dynamite on one of those things. Backyard adventures. I got a 2013 Honda Fit, fading paint on the hood and the top of the roof. It's okay to have the roof and hood properly repainted at a good shop. Well, you could, you know, if you want. It's very hard to match paint perfectly, and that car's 11 years old. But since it's the hood and the roof and the trunk probably too, right? That's the top. And you don't really see the top when you see the sides. So a good paint store could do that. Realize, though, if it's faded away, they're going to have to strip it down to the bare metal and then repaint that stuff. Just don't have them, buff it off and then paint over it, because it'll fade away really fast. You got to go all the way to the bare metal and repaint it. It's a relatively expensive proposition to do correctly. Jared Mills says, Scotty, I got a Kia Spectra. When the AC is on, the RPM goes up and down when the car idles for 45 seconds. Do you know why? Okay, now if it doesn't idle up and down when you don't have the AC on, but you turn the AC on and it idles up and down, you got a problem with the AC idler system. When you turn your AC on, there is a switch on your throttle, it's supposed to idle it up a little higher to compensate for the drag of the AC compressor, so then the engine will idle at about the same speed as if you have the AC off. A lot of times those go bad. But the other thing is, you might be low on refrigerant. Because if you start up a car and turn the AC on, if the idle goes up and down, it can be because the compressor is turning itself on and off and on and off. And that's what happens when you're low on refrigerant. Computer sensors see what the pressure of the AC is. And if it's low on refrigerant, it can start to suck the low side into a vacuum, into negative pressure. So then it turns it off. And then when the pressure builds back up, the switch sees this pressure, turns it back on. So it keeps turning it on and off, which will make the idle go up and down. So look at that, too. Shadow Man says, Scotty, how long do you think my '07 Ridgeline can last? It currently has 160,000 miles. All right, those are well made. I've seen them with 260,000 miles. Here's the thing. It is a V6 engine, and for some weird reason, Honda is still building V6 engines with rubber timing belts that have interference engines, so that if the belt breaks, the pistons hit the valves, bend the engine, and goodbye engine. So, if I were you, if you've never changed the timing belt in the water pump, you got 160, do that now. And it might easily go another 160,000 or even more. They're well-made vehicles, especially back in '06. Honda's had some problems lately with some of their manufacturing stuff, but back in '06, this is one of the top cars they made. Isaiah says, I got an '09 Pontiac G6, 2.4 liter, with a random misfire, but it happens so rarely I can't find out. I did the spark plugs, and it happens every 6 months or so. 158,000 miles. Any idea? Okay, random misfires can be one of the biggest stinkers to figure out because, of course, it's random. And if it happens once every 6 months, I wouldn't even worry about it. I mean, get some of my friend Bernie's ATS fuel injector cleaner. Just Google Bernie, Albuquerque, New Mexico, ATS cleaner. Buy a bottle, put it in the tank. Could be a fuel injector's a little dirty, and then it doesn't spray right in the misfires. You change the spark plug, so, it's not the spark plug. It could be an ignition coil starting to go out, but if it was an ignition coil, then eventually you'd get the code for that coil. You'd get like P0301, which would be misfire cylinder number 1. Then you know the number 1 ignition coil was starting to go bad. I wouldn't worry about it when it's that random, right? But once you get that code, quick, have a guy like me look at the misfire data. And if you relook at the misfire data with a fancy scan tool, we might see, ooh, look, cylinder number 1 has had 36 misfires and all the rest are 0. So then you'd change the coil and pray it was the coil and not something inside the engine that was causing the misfire. James C. said, my cousin really wants a used BMW 328i for his first car. I know they're money pits when they age. Do you have some advice for him? Yes, if you want to learn a life lesson, go ahead and buy it. Then you learn from experience. That they are money pits and you'll throw a bunch of your money into the money pit. The only way people learn in the real world is by experience. And there's no better experience than screwing up something poorly, doing a big mistake like buying one of those. Because the mistakes I've made in my life, I still remember them. And I make a point of not repeating them, right? And it's true that, hey, if you do something right all the time, everything good always happens. One, you're not going to have much fun because nothing bad happened to you. And you got to experience the bad to really experience the good, the highs and the lows, right? So maybe he should buy it. He'll have a money pit, and then he'll learn a life lesson. It's like stuff I learned years ago. I learned, don't put your money in the stock market. They're a bunch of crooks. And I lost some money, but I learned a great lesson. What if I learned that lesson now when I'm 70? Then I wouldn't have any money left, right? So you got to learn by experience. Mr. Garrison says, Scotty, have you ever been to Thailand? No, I haven't, but my motorcycle has. I have a Triumph Thruxton, and it was made in Thailand. A while back, one of the big factories in England that made Triumphs burnt to the ground. So they moved the factory for the twin cylinder engines, to Thailand, and they're 10 times better than the ones the English were building. I think it was like 12 English guys went there, and now they have all the Thais working in the factory, and I guess they got really good work ethic in Thailand. It's the best motorcycle I ever had. It just runs and runs, sounds great, looks great, and it doesn't break down like the ones made in England. I've never personally been there. I mean, it looks beautiful, right? I don't have the time to travel out there. I'm too busy helping everybody out with their car problems. The police in Phoenix, Arizona pulled over a Jaguar for driving erratically, only to find out nobody was driving the car. It was a driverless Waymo taxi that happened to be a Jaguar, or as the snobs say, Jaguar. Now the policeman chased down the vehicle. Supposedly it drove into oncoming traffic, ran a red light, and freaked out. And when he goes to arrest the guy, there's nobody there. It's a self-driving taxi. And yes, they're not ready for prime time by any stretch of the imagination. What's it going to take? One's going to have to run over and kill a baby or something before they do something about this. You know, these things are not ready for prime time. They can't deal with all the people driving and walking across the street and dogs running around. They can't deal with that stuff. But they keep pushing it because these stupid companies like Waymo have spent billions of dollars trying to get driverless taxis going. Why? The taxi drivers pay tax. They have a business. You can talk to them when you're riding in them, or Uber, right? Real humans, you can interact with them. They got lives. You can learn something. What, you're going to ride around in a robot taxi? What's it going to tell you, you know? It can't even drive right. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.